Hello friends, welcome to Tarunayas. Today we will be talking about daily current affairs of 14th of December 2022. So let's start with the today's news. The first news of the day is the Kerala government passing bill to remove governor as the head of varieties, that is the state universities, and we would see some of the news from the economic section of the newspaper. And the third news of the day is about the HAKUTO mission, and fourth news will be about the sixth schedule. So let's see the first news of the day. The Kerala governor has he passes the bill to replace governor as this is not governor, this is actually the government, because governor will not pass the bill to remove himself or herself as the head of the varieties. So what has happened, there has been a long drawn tussle between the Kerala government and the Kerala governor. Now what has happened, traditionally if you see that in fact according to the constitution, the governor is basically the head of the university. He is the head of the universities, and there is another person called the vice chancellor person. Right. So we did in one of the editorials, we had spoken about the UGC Act, which was then amended in the year 2018. And there were some provisions with respect to the appointment of the vice chancellors, and a committee was supposed to be formed to appoint the vice chancellor, and the chancellor of the university is the governor. However, the governor said that the appointment of the vice chancellors, in fact in case of the Gujarat also we had seen that the appointment of the vice chancellors was not in accordance with the UGC provision and the rules that were provided in the year 2018. So therefore the Kerala governor had asked to withdrew their appointment. That means he had asked the governors to resign from the post. However, the Kerala government seeks to the removal or replacement of the governor as the head of the varieties in pursuance with the recommendation of the Punshi Commission in the year 2007, established in the year 2007. So this has been the news. So let us see, this is the excerpt which I have taken from the Hindu newspaper. So the Kerala Assembly has passed two university law amendment bills to replace the governor as the chancellor of the 14 state universities, because legislation with respect to the state university is under the provision of the state government. Therefore state government can do so, and the legislation which is subject to the governor's assent will enable the state government to appoint academicians or person of eminence in various fields of knowledge as chancellors in all state universities except for the national universities of the advanced legal studies and Kerala Kala Mandalam. So this is what the news has been, that except for these two universities, the Kerala government then can appoint the eminent personalities having expertise in various academics to be as the chancellor of the universities. So this is the main issue, and we discussed that why it is being done so. And we discussed the previous context in which the tussle between the Kerala government and the governor has been long drawn. Let's move on to the next news of the day. We would be looking at the economy news from the 14th of December. This is 14th of December. Please excuse me for this. And the news, of course, has been taken from the Hindu newspaper. Let us see the first news of the day. The first news is about the inflation. Now what is this inflation? Inflation is basically the price rise. It can be understood in two manner. The first, inflation is because of the increase in the currency in circulation, and the other reason for inflation is the decreasing purchasing power of the consumer. Now this decreasing purchasing power of the consumer is because of the decline in the rupee value as compared to the other currency. So let us see what the news has been, because yesterday we did talk about not yesterday but in few previous days we did speak about the inflation, and currently the retail inflation, it rises. Headline inflation moderation is below 6% in November, and the report says that it may not sustain yet. Right. So the news has been that if we consider the year 2022, then in April the inflation was 8-year high rate of 7.8 percentage, and the 5 of the first 8 months of the year 2000, the financial year 2022 to 23, it registered a 7 percentage plus inflation, and sequentially it is 7 percentage, and then sequentially it started to moderate in September. In October it registered 6.7 percentage, and in November there was a decline of 0.9 percentage, and then it arrested at 6.1 percentage. So according to the finance ministry, it remains high at 6.1 percentage, and according to the finance ministry, there is a sharp decline, and it is mainly due to the decline in the food prices. So this was about the inflation, that how it has moderated since April this year, and we did speak about the inflation, and we did understand the inflation in two terms, that how it is understood in terms of the price rise, and also it is understood in terms of the decreasing power, purchasing power of the consumer with respect to the other currency, and particularly due to the decline in the rupee value as compared to the US dollars. Let's move on to the next news of the day. The next news is about the FCRA, which is the FCRA registration of 1,811 NGOs have been cancelled in 3 years as per the government report. Now let us see what this FCRA is. The full form of the FCRA is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This act was passed in 1976 during the emergency time, when there was a high apprehension regarding the foreign powers who were trying to interfere in India's internal affairs and trying to pump in funds through independent organization and trying to destabilize the government. So this was passed in this context. However, it has then been amended twice, first in the year 2010 and then in the year 2020. So FCRA basically requires the person and NGOs to register, those who receive the foreign contribution, that is the foreign funding. They are required to register with the authority that has been designated by the Home Ministry, and it also prohibits any receipt of the foreign funds by the candidates who are going to run for the election. Now let us see some of the key changes that have been made in the year 2020, Amendment 2020. The first is that it does allow the Indians to receive up to rupees 10 lakh annually from their relatives abroad. So this is basically related with the remittances. And earlier limit was rupees 1 lakh, now it is rupees 10 lakh. If the amount exceeds, the individuals will have 90 days to inform the government instead of the 30 days earlier. That means the limits, it has been increased, and also gives the individuals and organizations or NGOs 45 days for the application of obtaining registration or the prior permission under the FCRA to receive foreign funds. Right, so from 30 days earlier to 45 days, there has been an increase of 15 days to register or file application for the prior permission to receive funds. Now, organizations who receive foreign funds, they will not be, according to the new amendment, will not be able to use more than 20% of their funds for the administrative purpose. Earlier, the limit used to be 50%, and now the government found that majority of the funds have been siphoned, or they are particularly used in the name of the social activities for their administrative and other purposes, and their actual objective is not being fulfilled. So, in pursuance to regulate NGOs, the non-governmental organization more clearly, and to increase the transparency in the regulation of these organizations, the Indian government brought these amendments to the FCRA Act. 5. It has made 5 more offences under FCRA as compoundable. Instead of the earlier 7 offences that were made compoundable, there would be 12 offences which are compoundable under the FCRA Act. The next news of the day is about industrial output. Now, in October, the industrial output has contracted to 4%, and this is the slide which is seen second time in 3 months row. See, industrial output is measured by index of industrial production, which is released by NSO. The base year that is used is the 2011 to 2012 financial year. This is the base year which is used for understanding the industrial production. There are 8 core industries which forms the approximately 48% of the weightage index of industrial production. The IIP index basically measures the growth in the industries. If it contracts, it means there is a slowdown in the economy, and if it expands, that means the economy is growing. If we consider this news, that the contraction in the industrial output, we need to understand that why there is a sudden contraction, or there is a sudden slump in the October industrial output. Now, if we consider the manufacturing output that accounts for approximately 77.6% of the weight of the IRP and which contracted to 5.6% in October as against the 3.3% growth in the previous year. So, we measure the economic growth year on year. Now, what do we mean by this year on year? If it is 5.6% in October 2022, then we would see, in order to clearly measure the growth or the decline in the industrial output, the same percentage in the October previous year. That means in October 2021. So in October 2021 it was 3, the slowdown was 3.3%. Now there is a more slowdown. That means it is 5.6%. Now, the contraction which was recorded for the capital goods output, a proxy for investment sentiments after a gap of almost 9 months, it was at 2.3%. It indicates first the weak investment. The first reason is the weak investment, and the second reason is the negative territory that reflects the weak consumption as well. So we have two reasons for the slump in the October industrial output. The first is the weak investment and the second is the weak consumption. Now these two reasons, they are being accorded to the post pandemic effect. There is also a weaker global demand reflecting on India's merchandise export, which in turn shows in the manufacturing output. Alright, so this is the fourth reason, that globally there is a low demand for the Indian merchandise. Three reasons we have discussed. Now the fourth reason would be the shrinking of the MSME. Now if we consider the contribution of MSME in Indian economy, then it would be around approximately 30% as per the Ministry of MSME. Right. This is about the slump in the industrial output. Let's move on to the next news of the day. The next news is about the HAKUTO R mission. Now, Japan's iSpace has launched the first commercial moon lander. So, what is this HAKUTO mission? Basically, the HAKUTO name refers to the white rabbit which lives on moon in Japanese folklore. This moon lander has been launched by iSpace, which is a Japanese startup, and SpaceX Falcon 9 carried HAKUTO R lander and NASA's lunar flashlight CubeSat, and there was one more rover which was UAE's rover. So these are the three things which have been carried in the HAKUTO mission. The first one is the lander, the CubeSat satellite of NASA, and UAE's rover. The Ember ladder will deploy two robotic rovers, a two-wheel baseball-sized device from the Japan's JAXA, which is the Japan Space Agency, and there will be a four-wheeled Rashid Explorer, which has been made by the UAE, that is United Arab Emirates. The M1 lander, it is expecting to have a soft landing at Atlas crater, which is located on the southeastern edge of the moon's mare frigoris, which is the term used for the Sea of Cold. Sea of Cold. United States, China, and Soviet Union are the only space agencies to have achieved soft landing on moon. India also did try to achieve soft landing in Chandrayaan 2 mission, however we failed. If this mission is successful, then it would make Japan the fourth country to achieve soft landing on lunar surface, and it would be the first private company, the first commercial mission to do so. iSpace has also planned two more missions that would be sent in the year 2024. Now, what is this Rashid? Basically, this Rashid has been designed by United Arab Emirates. It will be the first moon rover, and it weighs approximately 22 pounds, that is 10 kilograms, and it has been named Rashid, and it will be deployed from HAKUTO R mission that would be sent by Falcon 9 from SpaceX and in collaboration with the JAXA. And Rashid, it will study the environment of the lunar surface for about 14 Earth days, which makes the one lunar day. Let's move on to the next news of the day. The next news is about the sixth schedule. Now, why this has been news, if I consider the context, there has been a demand from the Ladakh region of the country to include Ladakh in the sixth schedule. Right. Currently, there are 4 states which are included in the sixth schedule. These states are Assam, Mizoram, Tripura, and Meghalaya. These are the 4 states which are included in sixth schedule. There are several benefits which are included in the sixth schedule, and after the bifurcation from the Jammu and Kashmir and being formed as a separate union territory without legislation, the rise or the demand with respect to the inclusion in the sixth schedule from the Ladakh region has increased. Now, Home Ministry said the main objective for inclusion of the tribal population under 5th and 6th schedule is to ensure their socio-economic development. If the Union Territory Administration has already been taking care of it since the creation and sufficient funds are being provided to Ladakh to meet its development requirements. So this is the response which has been given by the Ministry of Home Affairs to the demands from the Ladakh. Right. So you can relate this article with your mains examination as well. With respect to the state organization, with respect to the demands from the different regions for their inclusion in the 6th schedule. So basically, you can connect it with your regionalism as well. Regionalism as well. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching Tarun IS. And if you want to download the PDF of this session, you can go to our Telegram channel. The link will be given in the description below. Have a nice day.